Good afternoon, everybody. Is it a pleasant and wonderful morning, or evening, or afternoon for everybody? So, I figured on this Uncle John show, in which I love to talk to you about money and coins and things related to it, I want to tell you a little bit, a good story about the rest of that story that I had to explain. When I was a lot younger, $1 bill, Kim Kardashian. It takes $1 to be honest on the Uncle John show. It's going to be a very interesting show because I'm going to make a live one, and I'm going to have kids involved. And the kids can ask me any question they want regarding these super secret organizations and what I had to do and who I had to talk to and this whole 9 yards. So sit back, relax. We're on the Great Escape here, the Great Escape. You're going to be on an adventure. So, let's go into depth. You're going to be, you young children are going to have fun. Because on this show, the Uncle John show, it's going to be funny. You're going to download this. It's free. You don't have to worry about it. You can ask me whatever question you want. It could even include on the Uncle John show any homework assignments or whatever. I'm going to set up a system or a business that can help kids with math and whatever subject you want to talk about. And I'll teach you how to write a specific essay assignment. I'll be your, as they say in the internets out there is a good thing. I'll be a version of what you call a babysitter. Babysitter means that, you can not sit on babies. Now, you can't sit on babies, but I can teach you certain things that can help you. Because when I was a kid, just like a lot of kids, I had a learning disability. I overcame this learning disability because I started reading books. I started practicing about, pronouncing words and going into depth and utilizing the Holy Scriptures. When I was utilizing these Holy Scriptures, I would make sure every day I would read, let's just say if I was a young child, I would read 5 pages. Just every day I would read some section. Even when I became an adult, I still kept certain books. And just like everything else on the Uncle John show, regarding TV, phone, and internet, I could give you advice about the TV, phone, and internet. I could help you on the Uncle John show to tell you the best phone service to pick. I could do a version of what you call product testing. And I could help young entrepreneurs out there build and grow businesses. So, I want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. This is going to be an entertaining show for all of you kids out there. It's good. It's good out there to have the YouTube and the Twitter and the whole 9 yards. So, I met a person, let's just call her Kim Kardashian. So I'm going to put it in, Kim Kardashian. Now, Kim Kardashian ghosts Kendall Jenner after promise. Kim is a very famous celebrity. So, I have this. So, I'm going to shut it off. So, Kim and I had a wager. she made a bet with me when she was a lot younger. She said that she would never be successful, yada, yada, yada. No, she wouldn't make it in life, yada, yada, yada. I went in one direction. I went in the left side of the direction. And she went into the right side of the direction. And we always butt heads. So, getting back to the story, I want to tell you the story about this person by the name of Fred. So, Howard Peterson and I, I was in the AmeriCorps as in the public defender's office, and I worked at the 4 major hospitals, and I was a student that studied medicine, that was going in to become a neurologist. I was going to take the USMLE course. I took the CPA exam, the CMA, and I took the bar. I took other exams, but those are the reason why I'm bringing all this up is I took those exams and I passed. So even with the learning disability, in which I had an IEP and I had to get accommodations, even with that, I still passed the exam. So, to Kim's children, I am very sorry to tell you, Kim has a very interesting history when she was a lot younger that I could just reveal. But what I can explain to you in regards to this, like a deck of cards, she's a very mysterious person. She doesn't like to talk much, or she talks too much. So, I met a friend of hers and Khloe Kardashian in video game land. So my gamer tag was Dr. Death Wins Again. You might look it up, might not, it's okay, doesn't matter. The whole purpose of this in life is to be honest. So, she was, this is 2000. So, she had father was an attorney, O.J. Simpson. He did a lot of other cases. Passes away. He had throat cancer. He had things happen with his throat that he had cancer. It affected her and her career, meaning that she wanted to do certain things. She wanted to build companies and things related to that. In regards to her, what I have to say, I feel terrible for what she went through, because as a young adult she experienced, her mother was in a marriage with a very perfect person. She transitions to another marriage with Mr. Bruce Jenner. He goes through a transition, means that I don't think, from what I was told from my relatives, because Joseph, who is one of my relatives' names, or Alfred was one of my relatives' names, that's in California, said she didn't really have an easy upbringing. It was very, very difficult. And she didn't have easy life. So, I had to take that with a grain of salt. I had met Howard Peterson during this pandemic. Prior to this, I went through a version of what you call therapy. I went not to a psychiatrist, I went to a neurologist, and the neurologist said it's maybe was a blessing you got hurt when you did, because you went through a lot of pain and suffering. You went through trauma and things related to that mentally and physically. So, in regards to that stuff, when you have a learning disability, it's like having a handicap. But you can't worry about that handicap. It's just how life is. For a lot of us out there with the learning disability, or we have a disadvantage, we can't use it or abuse this learning disability in life. You can't make excuses. So, I had a friend of mine, James. He had dyslexia. He overcame it. It took him time. He overcame it, took these tests. He became a mathematics major, and he's at one of these major universities teaching. So, I had a friend of mine named Evan. He went to Syracuse University. He basically became a doctor. He had a learning disability. In regards to me and Kim, I just want to explain something to her mom and her relatives. You need to understand something. I'm fully aware. People like Edward Snowden, people like FBI or CIA or ATF or DEA, we are fully aware that there is a problem going on in our country with the drugs. There's heroin overdoses, there's opioid addictions going on with people. This needs to be immediately addressed. It's very important that kids don't go on the internet and look up things that are very inappropriate. I think that's very, very dangerous. This is why I made this Uncle John show to begin with. And it's important, like anything else, to stay away from predators. Number one thing I learned when I was a kid, show you the picture. When I was a kid, I did not do social media. So when Mark Zuckerberg, I was responsible. I was just one piece of the programming for the Facebook, because they had app issues. They were trying to convert the website to an app. I was responsible for doing some of that stuff. And when they had the remote hacks, it was my friends and I that brought it to Mark Zuckerberg or Facebook's attention. Now, in regards to things related to that stuff that I want to explain on the Uncle John show, which is very important. To you parents out there, be aware that there are things like Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, Telegram, WhatsApp. You have young kids that are out there that they go on the internet and they're texting somebody. So with a lot of those programs, there should be a version of censorship, meaning that they should have it family friendly, where they only have a certain amount of minutes to go on that program, or if they're playing video games, to be on that video games for a certain amount of minutes. They didn't have that. And when Nintendo 64 came out, when I was a kid, they didn't have any of that stuff. But I prioritize school. Education is very important. There are predators out there. I was a big component. I set up a couple of non-for-profit businesses, and I was a big component in the, the Big Brother, Big Sister programs, where they go, into certain areas where people have issues with drugs or alcohol, or they don't have, they're a single parent and they don't have certain help that they need. In regards to a lot of this stuff that I'm explaining to you guys, you need to understand something. I was around law enforcement because my dad's relatives and my mother's relatives one was a nurse, my mother was a nurse, my dad has a background in law enforcement, meaning he worked at the hospital. He was around a lot of people that dealt with a lot of mental illness, variety of stuff. So, in that regards, I just want to address it. There is a problem going on with our society. People are just not acting normal. See, when this pandemic was going on, I was in Columbus Circle. See, I was independent at a young age. So I always had a job, and I had my cell phone with me, and I had keys like this, meaning I had a way of getting into a situation and a way of getting out of a situation. So I always made sure for myself to protect myself. So number one for parents and adults, always protect your kids' rights. When school season comes around, we're getting close to August, and even in college, be very careful with your kids when it comes to, the seasons to begin with. Make sure that when the kid goes into the school, you have to be on top of them. You got to be like white on rice. You got to make sure your kid's not getting bullied. A lot of these kids, when I was in this district in Belmore, some of my friends and myself, we were getting bullied because one of my friends had a speech impediment issue. He had to leave. He couldn't stay here. He got bullied. The teacher was ignorant. Some of these school districts, they hire people and you don't know what they are. You don't know if they have a mental condition or whatever it is. So you have to keep that in mind. Cyberbullying is very important. Prioritize that. Number 2, in regards to this, always make sure your kid does some sort of reading. Besides being on video games or streaming or whatever, or being glued onto that cell phone or the video games is not going to prosper your child. And when I was just like me on this Uncle John show, which I'm trying to build certain things to begin with and help people, I've seen a lot of kids go into that hospital, not just NUMIC, any of those hospitals, and they have serious medical conditions, asthma, whatever it is. You need to protect your child's rights. When you go into that hospital, you make sure you have a doctor. The doctor you see, you make sure that you keep an eye on the doctor. Meaning, you keep account of everything. Always keep records for your kids. He had to have a flu shot. If you're a father, and let's just say you're in a divorced relationship, because it has to do with family court. This is all related to what I was doing in work. I've seen it. I've witnessed it. My sister and my sister and brother-in-law had a very bad divorce, and it affected my niece and nephew's psyche, meaning their mind. And I had to almost be like a version of what you call a dad to a lot of people out there. Because out there in society, it's not for the fainted-hearted. It's not for fainted people. You need to understand, from an education point of view, education is important. They need skills. They need to find a job. They need opportunity. It's good that some kids get jobs at Chick-fil-A and McDonald's, but you don't want to see your child at Chick-fil-A and McDonald's at 20-something or 30-something. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but you want to see them prosper. But what I'm going to say in regards to the colleges and everything, you do want them going to school, but you want them to obtain a skill. You need to have them obtain a skill. Skills are very important. You need skills to survive. You need to be able to make sure that, like anything, that they need to make money. And they need to save. And they need to have some system. A parent needs to establish. See, when I was studying to become a rabbi or a priest, that's something that needs to be integrated into a marriage. Or like a diagram. Hey, honey, Roger has to go to soccer practice. Who's taking Roger to soccer practice? Is the husband taking it, or is the wife taking it? And you always have to meet each other 100%. You got to do it together. This is a family thing. This is something that I'm going to explain to you. I've seen this in family court. I'm aware of what goes on with this divorce, and I am a big component. I am against divorce, meaning it's not that I'm against it. It's that before you go into marriage, You should meet a rabbi, a priest, some person that should be a person that's a mentor, that should give you advice. You should always have a version of what you call like a babysitter, but in the form of a priest or a rabbi, or if you're not religious with those people, a form of an adult that can give you advice, that can put you in the correct direction. This is the purpose of the Uncle John Show, is to teach all of you guys the correct method of doing certain things. When I was a lot younger, I was not a religious person, meaning I thought Jesus and a lot of those people like Elijah, I thought it was imaginary. Me going into church or temple, doing the catechism, I thought I was going to an imaginary place. That's what happens with kids. Kids don't understand things. You need to explain things to young kids. You need to understand the value, ladies and gentlemen, of $1. You need to understand that Facebook and Instagram is, you're dealing with things in the internet or social media, you have to be careful. It's good for your kids to just take that phone every once in a while, to take that phone or device, shut it off, and have them do exercise. Take them to the park. Have them do biking. Teach them, if they don't like that, teach them some skill that can turn their mind off. Or, for the matter, like myself, what I did was, I went to the movies. Like every Friday, my parents, they would take me to the movies. I'd go to a movie. Or I would go out to eat. I'd try something different. That's something parents are struggling with now. In other words, I'm trying to say is paying the bills is very important. Putting money aside. These are things that I worked on. I had to work on myself. I did not have any help. Yes, I was in relationships, but you have to work first. Priority for yourself as a man or a woman, doesn't matter which gender. You have to work on yourself. Work on yourself first. Fix the problems that you have. Make a list. Always write down, what your life goals are going to be. And work on it. And take it from there. So thank you guys. Have a pleasant and wonderful day. Take care. I hope you guys have a good weekend. And hopefully you enjoy your Monday. Thank you.